I'm a panelist, right?
You're like,
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining. My name is Gleb. I'm a pitch coach. Been doing it for 10 years now, and this is my 8th hack. During around 4 or 5 of those hacks, Ginny, correct me if I'm wrong, we in fact train people together, not just the finalist, but we done a lot of legwork. We in fact train people who were competing to get in the finals. And we work people in global hack, we work people in the, I work with a Polish hack, Danish hack, all that lovely stuff. Now, today we're going to be working with the very finalists selected from 2,159 projects. And this particular training is going to be transmitted to Facebook, and we're going to be working with them one by one. We'll be relying on volunteers. We will be relying on direct feedback. So people who are not comfortable with direct feedback, you have been informed. Now, our goal is to prepare you for the demo day that you guys probably know me from, where you guys are going to be pitching for around 3 minutes. But we're also going to be preparing you for essentially pitching to people who do not know anything about your projects. Those can be corporates. Those can be academia, right? It can be very different groups. But ultimately, our job, and Ginny's and I, is to prepare people to pitch for investment. But at the same time, we just want to make sure your message gets across. And I think Ginny in that regard is really good, both on delivery and storytelling. My particular focus today will be your content, will be your stories. And depending on what I see from your volunteers, I will also bring out the Q&A. But on this note, Ginny, I'm going to gently give it over to you and bring out your forte, delivery, and a little bit of story. Give us a sneak peek.
Thanks, Gleb. Yeah, so I trained as an actor originally, so I'll use some of the training that I did when I was training to help people focus on how they deliver their message on screen and on stage as well. So we'll be looking at some technique around how do you stand properly when you're pitching, how do you breathe, and how do you use your voice well as well. So, so that's what I'm bringing into the webinar today.
Understood. Now, dear chat, I'm also going to be emceeing this session a little bit. I'm going to make sure that all of us are going to be engaged. Now, let's do one trial run before we take a volunteer, right? There will be a raise hand feature. There will be a raise hand feature when you want to go first. You'll be doing your pitch very quickly. But before, I want to just test it out, right? I want to test it out. How many of you would like to volunteer and say, I would like to? Just the chat, very basic. You could say yes, you could say I would like to, but just in the chat. We're doing it as a test drive to see whether you guys are there, whether you're paying attention, whether you're willing to write and are able to write with your fingers. All right, we have 1 comment, Ginny. That's very good. We have 2. I feel like, you know, one of those auctioneers who's like, we have 2, we have 3, we have 4, we have 5, we have 6, we have 7. Okay, we have 5 comments so far. Come on, the chat, you could do better. You could do better. You're the finalist, are you not? You could definitely be more ambitious. Who today would like to be able to volunteer? Please leave a comment in the chat. Test out the chat feature. That's what we're doing, because we're going to be relying for the chat potentially on feedback. Not just me and Ginny, but think of it as cross-source feedback. Guys, leave a comment. All right. Going back to this. Who would like to be our first volunteer? All right. We have Arbab. Now, Arbab, are you raising your hand? Because we really need to see your hand raised. Ginny, I don't know if you have a chance to look at our lovely technical view. Do we have any hands raised?
We do. We have Arbab has his hand raised, sorry, and then somebody whose name I can't pronounce. We've got 3 raised hands so far.
Wow. I love the ambition, guys. I love the ambition, especially from that individual. That individual is going to go places. Now, who's the first one in the current list?
We have Arbab is the first one in the list.
Arbab, before you join, before we get you to speak, Ginny, hint, nudge, nudge, right? What I want to make sure is that you have a good connection. Because if you have a poor connection, we will not be able to work with you, no matter how much we like you, Arbab. Second point, if we anytime mispronounce your name, you got to let us know, because this is going to be transmitted to everybody. It's important. Names are important. And finally, third, when we give you feedback, my kind recommendation is to, if you have a question, ask one open-ended question and do not start arguing. That's a common practice in accelerators such as Wise Guys that both Ginny and I are mentoring at, and then Build It for me, we're a hardware accelerator. Just to be very clear, do not argue when we're giving you feedback. All right, let me quickly check. Understood. All right, allowed to speak. Let's try our next speaker. Let's see it, Bob. All right. I'm trying, we cannot hear you yet, but we do rely on help. Oh, there we go. There we go. We have Arba popping up. Now you have to do two things. You have to unmute your microphone, and the second one is a bit of an optional. Proper etiquette is we can hear you definitely. If you would like to show us yourself video, that's great. But proper etiquette, if you don't, for whatever circumstances, we are not going to judge you. But it would really help us out as coaches to see your face, if doable. If not, it's cool. Right? But we can definitely hear you. Arbo.
Yeah. So, hello.
Arbab, understood. What we're gonna do is that you're gonna do quick pitch very quickly, maybe a minute, to get us really understand what you're doing, right? Then I'm gonna ask you questions, right? To fill in the blanks, fill in the information I desperately need to construct a pitch with you. Now, everybody else in the chat who is joining, who's being part of the session, this process is sometimes a little tedious, right? You might even pull out your phones. You might even start thinking about something else, but it's critical to making sense with a pitch and making sure it's condensed, clean, and crisp. So Arbab, you're gonna pitch for around a minute, just to give us rough an idea. And then we're gonna quickly start, specifically me in this context, and Ginny will be analyzing delivery, gonna start asking questions about facts, factual information about your business. Does that make sense, Arbab?
Sure. Yeah, got it.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So hello everyone. Myself Arbob. I am the project lead here at SoloCoin. So SoloCoin is an app that rewards users in virtual coins to engage in social distancing based on their location from their home. So it's basically making staying at home fun and engaging. Coins which they will get can be redeemed for exciting internet coupons. Users can also compete with nearby players or global players via leaderboards. And we have daily challenges, milestones, which they can share in social media and brag about it.
All right, that means you completed. Is that correct, Arbab?
Yeah.
It was a little below a minute, if I'm not mistaken, but that will be good enough. Understood. Now, Arbab, if I recall, right, so you have a background in blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Is that correct?
I'm glad that you remember, actually. Yeah.
I try to look at majority of you because I'm part of the VC team. I try to do it, but please, my apologies if I don't remember every possible detail because there's close to 120 of you, close, right?
Sure.
So it's super challenging. Arbab, if I recall correctly, you're quite connected. You had around what was it, 6,000 connections on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Understood. Now, your particular focus in this context, so you spend majority of your career working with things like blockchain, and specifically now you're applying, and I presume the word coin indicates some sort of cryptocurrency element to incentivize people to maintain social distancing. Am I correct in my assessment?
So it's not cryptocurrency yet, but it will be later. It's just regular coin right now.
Understood. Right? I have to confess that I've been listening to a lot of companies, a lot of founders talking about the beauty of the technology you use, right? At the same time, it's sometimes technology that is a problem. So I'm going to start asking you questions about the problem you're solving. Am I clear, Rob? I'm going to start drilling in and seeing whether you just like the tech, you're just doing whatever you've been doing already, or you care about something fundamentally bigger than yourself, and you truly have validated the problem you're solving with that technology.
Yeah, sure.
That cool? All right.
Sure.
Everybody else, All right, we have a few more people that joined. I appreciate. Welcome. We're currently having a conversation with Arbab. He pitched for a minute. I'm going to collect information, data from him, and then I'm going to pitch as if it would be him. That's going to take me 2.5 minutes on average when I do this test. And Ginny is currently analyzing Arbab's kind of answers, delivery, because we're going to be also collecting data. We're only going to do this exercise once in this form, and then we're going to really accelerate and give you as many as you ability to pitch. Now, Arbab, what is the problem that you're solving?
So coronavirus is biggest threat we have in 21st century. And until we get the vaccine, social distancing or basically physical distancing is the only way to like reduce the spread of coronavirus. But the thing is, not many people are engaging in the same, especially in countries like India or any other developing countries. That's why I thought, why not incentivize them to stay in their home and away from other people, so that they can, you can say, have fun while staying inside their home and stay safe also.
What particular region are you from and you're targeting? The two are different. Let me know.
Excuse me, I didn't get you.
What area, market are you targeting? Pardon me.
Yeah. Currently, our target market is young people, mostly 18 to 35, because those are the people having most problems staying inside their home because they are not used to staying away from other people.
Understood. How did you discover this problem personally? I am aware that it's a real thing, but I want to see how you're connected to it. No doubt about that. It's a global challenge right now. I am no way questioning that. I am more interested and implicitly answering the question, why you, right? You're not the first one. I'm listening at a hack that attempts to address this issue. You have been selected, right? Part of 2 rounds of selection criteria. I want to figure out how come. Why are you the best person to address this problem? Am I being clear, Arbab?
Yeah, sure. I have a background in, as you know, blockchain and cryptocurrency. So I do a lot of gamification stuffs in my previous startups. So I always try to implement these kinds of things into regular problems or bigger problems which we have. So when I saw in India, we didn't have that much of COVID infections, but it shot up quite quickly at very less time. So then I analyzed and got around, talked to some people and experts, but then I thought that yes, not many people are engaging in it because they think it's not that big of a problem. It's only isolated to bigger cities, and India is mostly rural. So I thought that the penetration, internet penetration is pretty good right now in India due to some mobile revolution we have. So I thought, why not implement what experience I have in gamification to solve
How
this
many
current
years
challenge.
of experience do you have? And if I interrupt you, I apologize. I want to speed up the process of data collection. So I do like you. All right. So how many years of experience in gamification have you gone through? Help me out.
I started my startup, blockchain startup, when I was 18. So currently I'm 22. I have four years of experience.
Understood. You're an ambitious man. I started a business around your age. So that's, I relate. Very cool, right?
Yeah.
Have you gained any traction with that previous company of yours and made a bit of a dent in the Indian market? Or helping people with that? Yes, please.
So I started a blockchain investment and research community in India, and quickly in just 4 months of time, I got around 10,000 plus members from across the globe, remotely joining or also joining in our meetups. We conducted meetups. We have also created an algorithm to detect which crypto projects can short up in the near future. So we got pretty good traction with that, but due to the crash, things slowed down a bit. But got in.
Arbab, so can you give me an example? Which city do you live in, if I may?
I'm in New Delhi. It's the capital of India.
New Delhi.
Yeah.
New Delhi. And so social distancing, I'm only reading the news. I have not visited your lovely city. Is it a big challenge to make sure people maintain social distancing in your country?
Actually, yes, because it's pretty difficult to say since I am an Indian, but not many people are literate enough to know the challenges we have, actual challenges we have of COVID and
But they're
how to
literate
prevent
enough
that.
to download an app on a smartphone, and you have an
Actually,
app. Is that correct?
yeah, yeah, that's you can say that, you can say, because that is the one thing they know for some reason. But yeah,
Ah, and you also pay them. Did I get this right?
uh,
This is
pay them.
gamification. What's the incentive in this gamification process? Everybody else, thank you for your patience so far. We're almost done. I'm going to do a limited pitch as if it'll be RBOB, but I need a few final notes, a few final
Sure.
brush strokes. Thank you for
Sure.
your patience so far and people who joined. RBOB, help me
Yeah.
out. What are the incentives in this case that particular solo coin is providing to those people to maintain the social distance?
Yeah, so currently we are rewarding them with 1 coin for each minute of social distancing, and they can redeem those coins for coupons. So the monetary value, you can say theoretical monetary value of 1 coin is basically 1/100th of 1 rupee. So if they earn 100 solo coins, then they will get something equivalent to 1 rupee of the monetary value for most
100
stores.
coins, 1 rupee, or
Yeah.
equivalent value. Clear?
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah, that's one
All right.
theoretical value. Yeah.
All right.
But it can
Traction
vary.
finally. Have you achieved traction during the hackathon and after it?
Yeah, sure. So during the hackathon, we were still developing, but then we launched about 3 days ago. But we already had waitlist registrations for that. So we have gotten about 1,000 registrations, all organic.
1,000. How long did it take you? 2 weeks,
It's
1 week?
1 month actually.
1 month to get 1,000 registrations.
Yeah, actually 27 days, but yeah.
27 days, 1,000 registrations. Clear. Let me start. So you're the CEO and a co-founder of SoloCoin, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, everybody else, I'm going to pitch as if I will be RBOB, and I'm going to do a quick draft with the content he provided. And then we're going to proceed to analyzing him, and then I'm going to move on to the next volunteer. So please be ready to volunteer later. All right, let's do it. Hi, my name is RBOB. I am the CEO and co-founder of SoloCoin. We want to make sure that people maintain social distancing in cities like New Delhi and all across India. We do so for an application that they can download that will allow them to earn coins for every meter of social distancing that they have maintained. Those coins, in fact, can be converted into rupees, cash, or equivalent currencies thereof, so they can themselves buy themselves goods, groceries, and all that stuff. Now, I during the past 4 years, I ran one of the largest blockchain communities with over 2,000 people, one of the fastest growing ones in India. And we applied gamification algorithms for cryptocurrency training. We're very experienced in building up a community and engaging that community. And I'm glad to deliver that we, during the past 27 days with SoloCoin, were able to onboard around 1,000 different users. People are signing up and we're seeing that this is growing. Our future vision is to bring in a cryptocurrency element into SoloCoin to add a more seamless transition to this gamified incentive structure, as in allowing people to actually earn money. So those people in New Delhi that cannot maintain always social distancing, and while they're earning, they can be earning while maintaining social distancing. My name is RBOB. I'm the CEO and co-founder of SoloCoin. All right, ladies and gentlemen, how was that like? Please leave a comment in the chat. All right, please leave a comment in the chat. All right, pretty good. Wow, I mean, okay, all right. We have quite a few comments trickling in. Okay, cool. Wow, that was Ginny, we're getting a lot of love in the chat. All right. Same info, but in a different style. All right. Problem, solution, background, why me, traction, vision, next steps, company name. Okay, you got it. Thank you, Simon. Simon, you're observant. You catalog for everybody. You're being a good team player. Thank you very much. Now, having said this, with the C articulation structured and then the enthusiasm, and it's succinct. So it's basically short, right? Condensed. Now, Ginny, I'm going to give it over to you, and the next one is getting ready. RBOB, you're going to get some feedback very quickly in your delivery, but the next volunteer is getting ready, right? With the hands raised.
Sure.
Ginny,
Thanks.
you've seen this tool being done before. It's your show, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to give you a couple of notes on the delivery side of things, Bob. So first of all, the energy in your voice is really good. So there's something in the way that you delivered it first time which captivated me as you were speaking. And I think there are a few things that you can do in terms of speed and emphasis as you're speaking, which will just add a little bit more power to your pitch. So one thing you would have heard Gleb do as he was speaking there was just pausing really deliberately at the ends of his sentences to break up what he's saying. So it might be worth you just writing into your script of your pitch where you're going to pause really deliberately, just to add a bit of power and build anticipation as you're speaking, and also which words you're going to emphasize. So it might be worth underlining certain things that you're wanting to draw your audience's attention to, so that as you're speaking, you're deliberately landing on certain words. So my brain goes, aha, this is important. I need to listen in a little bit more. And if you do those two things, breathe and emphasize certain words, it will naturally slow down your speech, because I think you're speaking just a little bit too fast. So have a go at those two things.
Ginny, thank you very much. I remind everybody that the reason why we are such a duo with Ginny right now is because there's two elements, at the very least, to your pitches when you're delivering, right? So it's not just the words, not just the visuals, the slides that you show. It's how you say those words. An occasional pause can make a complete difference how a sentence sounds. If you're racing, a lot of startup founders that I train over the past 10 years, sometimes you sound like a machine gun. You keep shooting, you keep shooting, you keep shooting, right? Because you're running out of time, you're on the clock, you have 3 minutes, right? But it takes confidence and it takes poise to basically just slow down. Right? And that means you're saying this sentence is important and I want you to think about that sentence. That's it. So keep in mind, it's not just the words, it's not just the slides, it's how you deliver those slides and how you deliver those words. And that's what Ginny is so good in this. Ginny, thank you. I appreciate having you on this call. I don't say that enough. Who is our lovely next volunteer? I'll use that word.
We've got Naomi. I'm not sure how to say the first name, but I can see Naomi has her hand raised.
Excellent. Ooh,
Sorry.
like the swagger. I love the outfit.
Thanks.
I love it, man. I love it. Now, I don't know if you guys have the ability to switch on your videos, but we definitely are open to it. If you don't, cool too, right? We can hear you. We can infer a lot from your voice. At the same time, we'd also love to see you. Sometimes webinar features don't allow you to do so. So just let us know in the chat a little bit if you're actually able to, right? After this session, for example, but not now. How do you pronounce your name? Naomi?
So that's my last name. My first name is Hueseko, which you've probably never heard in your life. But
well, I have heard it now. I heard a lot of different names, man. Anything from the Gulf work, the Middle Eastern work, right, down to a lot of Nordic names that sometimes have a lot of umlauts and O's and A's, right? So you're not going to surprise me. But once again, for everybody who is not from your country, Hueseko?
Yes, exactly.
Hueseko.
Hueseko, yep.
Hueseko, wow. All right, Ginny, you good with that? Hueseko? All right, cool. Hueseko, now we're going to do something a bit different. And this is where the chat is also going to be coming in. You are going to be, let's say, deputy coaches. You're going to be providing mini feedback so we can actually get an idea whether we're the only two that have an opinion or we have a little bit of additional data, right, trickling in. So please pay attention to his pitch. Do not just wait. It's like, well, I want to. We learn from each other, right? This is a very collaborative effort, and I really love this. Hueseko, you're going to pitch for around a couple of minutes or so. I'm not going to be sharp with that. Now, your job is to, yes, explain the problem, as it always goes with any pitch. Yes, you need to give me, even before that, a very basic sentence, functional sentence, what it does, right? Is it software? Is it hardware? It's important for investors to know that category, right? Or are you something else? Maybe you're physical good, right? I want to understand that. You just let me know. And what it does, hopefully for whom. But the problem here, right? You need to be able to show me an example of that problem, and maybe a scaled up example. How many more people have it? Does that make sense, Teco?
Yes.
Very good. Now, once you complete that, you can get to the solution eventually, right? Tell me a little bit more about it. And maybe after the solution, we will talk about your business model. We might talk about your go-to-market strategy, right? All that stuff. If you haven't thought about it, just move to the point that you have. Cool? Joseko, you with me?
Okay. All right.
All right.
Yep.
But for now, just tell me what it is, right? In functional terms, so I understand it. Then tell me, please, the problem, and hint, if you have a story to tell, that has all the things I just listed, and it's a lot more memorable. But your show, couple of minutes. Let's
Sure.
do it.
All right. So I'm Joseko. I'm a part of the Jana.help team, which is working on a unique platform, which is the first of its kind in Switzerland to help people, to help victims of domestic violence. Domestic violence is an issue that really doesn't get enough exposure, enough light, enough solutions in that direction. It's a problem that's always real, but unfortunately, it's being severely increased because of our confinement situation. So, whereas it would be a problem normally, we see in our regions a 30% increase in terms of domestic violence since the beginning of the confinement, because people are stressed, because people are kept at home. They can't like reach out to help. They can't make a call to a counselor or a shelter. So they're really stuck at home with their problems and having to deal with it. And what we're offering is a communication platform on which people can talk about the issue they're going through, find potential solutions. Like if it's an emergency, they have emergency contact numbers. If it's a pressing situation that they want to talk to, there's a chat where they can talk to other victims or survivors, or where they can talk to experts of the domain. We're attempting to provide many things, but we're also conscious of the fact that it's not an easy task, in the sense that we don't have we don't have traction yet. It's not something that we can bring as a prototype to people who are suffering from domestic violence. It's a project for which we really need strong partnerships in the domain, for which we really need feedback on how our solution might be relevant from social workers, field experts, psychologists, and that is what we are looking for, is this actual anchorage to the community of professionals that have been working in the space since years.
Joseko, I'll take this cue. Throughout the years I've been doing this work, as in coaching people, specifically working on their speeches and including the part that Ginny does, delivery, I hear very different stories. Sometimes those stories are about changing a particular industry. Sometimes those stories talk about a village that suffered through deforestation somewhere in Ghana, right? I have very, very different stories. And I have to treat them with a certain degree of respect, but a certain degree of professionalism and an almost detached clinical editorial view, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So in this context, I have to select the content that will be relevant and the content that will be less relevant. And giving feedback on the story is definitely a challenging case because it's a serious subject and it's not the first project of its kind. So I will try to find a balance between being practical, giving you feedback, but also being respectful to the problem you're solving. Joseko, are you with me here?
Yep.
All right. So if I'm a little too direct and people go like, whoa, wow, how dare he give this important problem? Well, it's for the sake of helping communicate this problem. Now, when pitching, right, you're seeking something. It's important to have some kind of raison d'être. There's some kind of purpose, mission you're on, but also in a practical sense, what are the KPIs, right? What are we looking at to bring it forward? So when you talk about partners, what kind of partners are you seeking? Could you be a little more specific? Help me out.
So we're looking for like, for example, NGOs that are active in the space. So institutional partners is one thing, and the other thing is really ground root partners. So smaller shelters or police stations that see the problem firsthand and that can really provide us feedback.
Does that mean that you're a nonprofit? Is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
Clear. That's very important to highlight it. All right. So a nonprofit, and you're going to build software, or
Yes.
this is software. So it's software and it's a nonprofit, and you want to collaborate with anything from police stations to particular shelters to other nonprofit organizations, non-government organizations, essentially, if I got
Yes.
this right. Okay,
Exactly.
very good. And how would, so when you invite them, because you're going to have a bunch of those, you know, not just dozens, but probably a lot more during the matchathon in the upcoming week or so. So if I would need to introduce you, not saying that I would, I'm super busy, but I'd love to, right? Or somebody else who's listening on this call, how would they introduce you? I'm helping you with content a little bit. So Joseko is this fellow who runs a company, or like runs a project called
Yana.help.
Yana.help.
Yep.
Yana.help, understood. And Yana.help is what?
So Yana.help, Yana stands for You Are Not Alone, and it's a platform, it's a website where victims of domestic violence can communicate, can seek out help through different means like chats or simply like finding phone numbers or addresses to shelters.
Understood. And you're a nonprofit in this context. And you guys are looking for introductions to nonprofit organizations that can do what for you?
So anchor us in the community. Like the most valuable we can get is actually simple feedback from people who have worked in the space, who can try the platform and tell us what is right or what we need to change moving forward. But also, of course, funding is always welcome in terms of
Understood.
being able to build a platform further.
There's a project I had the privilege of giving feedback to and coaching. I think, Ginny, you did too. I think it's Act on Crisis, if I'm not mistaken. And they were the second, they got into the finals of the Global Hack. I think it had the second point. I got to see them very early in their journey during the Lithuanian hack. And what Yeva, the particular founder of that project, did really well, and that she onboarded psychologists, professionals in the field, and that showed traction, right? And specifically, it's also to do with mental health. Here, it's a more severe case. But if you can have a twofold approach, of course, in your particular solution, your app, that involves two parties, people who need help and people who can provide that help, onboarding the people who can provide help can build additional traction, to build momentum, and to make your pitch stronger. Now, I'm not sure how it functions, but the more people you get involved on a systematic level, the better the pitch will become. Joseko, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely, yes. Yeah.
So I'm not sure about the design of your particular app, but if there's two parties focusing on onboarding those particular parties and setting up an onboarding process can really accelerate your traction, and that definitely is going to improve it. Does that make sense so far, Joseko?
Yeah, definitely. That's
Understood. Ginny, I gave a few content suggestions. It's not an ideal pitch. I will keep a note finally that, Joseko, although we're dealing with a serious subject, keep in mind you're supposed to give people a tool to essentially cope. It's a solution, right? To get help, if I got this right. So you can use a hopeful tone to keep a balance between the seriousness of what it is, but what it could be. How you can definitely help people, how you can get people involved, how you can truly embed all the NGOs, not just get funding, but really make a difference in people's lives. And that is exciting. That is important. You're doing an important mission. And communicating for your voice is, I think, Ginny, I think it's one of your fortes, what you can help out with, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's something in what you're saying, which is you are bringing hope to people. But you also have a really hard task at the start of your pitch of describing something which is very unhopeful, and you're exposing and you're drawing light to, I think some of the stats you gave there are really helpful about the increase by 30%, the fact that people aren't able to get hold of platforms right now. And there almost needs to be a point in your pitch where you transition from, okay, this is what the world looks like without what we're doing in it, but this is what it could look like with Yana.help. And there needs to be something, I think, in your eyes as well. I know I can't see your face at the moment, but you'll see what Gleb did as he was demonstrating how to do it, is his eyes kind of widened. And there's something that the comedian's coming out of him now as well. But there's something in his expression which is drawing people into a different kind of story. And that's your job as a pitcher and as a storyteller, is to have this moment where you break from one thing into the next, think about your voice bringing like warmth in. And a helpful thing for you to do might be to just pitch in front of a mirror, just so you can see what's coming across to your audience. And it will encourage you to think about the tonality of your voice as well. Even just smiling a little bit as you're speaking will immediately bring a little bit of warmth in. So try that, because I think it will just lift the second half much more. Oh, can I just say one more thing? I wrote it down. In your pitch, you use some phrases like, this isn't an easy task. It's very honest what you're saying. But again, I think some of your terminology around, as Gleb was describing, what you are looking for is, I think you can spin it in a slightly different way. Yes, this isn't an easy task, but actually you're asking for partnerships because you're building something brilliant. So just think about the framing of that. That's my last thought.
Okay.
Absolutely, Ginny. And dear chat, this is where I invoke you. If you give one suggestion to Hoseko, or advice, or idea, what would it be? Just keep it very basic, a few words. That's it. So Hoseko can go back to the chat and see all the love, all the ideas that could help him bring his project forward. I'll give you a moment, everybody else. Please leave a comment. Hoseko's project. One piece of advice, feedback, anything that can help drive it forward while the next volunteer is preparing. Right? I think it's Bogdan, if I'm not mistaken. Victor, thank you very much. Good to see you, Victor, by the way. It's our third time. I'm looking forward to it. All right. Enthusiastic and lively, promoting a great solution. Victor, all right, cool. Light at the end of the tunnel. Light at the end of the tunnel. When you're changing the world, the founder needs to be enthusiastic about the amazing people on board. Loved your idea. Please be a bit more enthusiastic. Keep the story behind the problem you address, brackets, and a bit shorter. It would be great if he raises his voice louder. Otherwise, it was hard to hear. Hoseko, right? Your people are really helping you out, right? This is very good. I love crowdsourcing feedback this way because it keeps you guys engaged and it also provides value to each other. Hoseko, you good?
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely.
Makes sense? Does the feedback make sense so far?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Very good. Now, I kindly transition. I appreciate, thank you, Hoseko. We'll probably transition to Bogdan or somebody else who Ginny will pick. And what I will inform you now is that I'm going to hopefully work with a few more for-profit projects because we have a demo day as one of our first events. And I am responsible for leading a group of very lovely team members. We have a whole machine going on now that is currently preparing to reach out to hundreds, if not thousands of investors to invite for the demo day. And I'd love to prepare you guys for it. At the same time, I understand nonprofit work and academia and corporation work is also important. So we'll try to balance it. At the same time, I remind everybody else, there's the demo day coming up, and around 30 plus of you or so, we're still deciding an exact number, plus minus, all right? Don't give me stuff for it, all right? We'll be pitching in front of the esters. There's a lot of good teams out there, and we're selecting them very hard. Just letting you know. I know you've been asking. You've been anxiously waiting. So for-profit projects, if you may. Bogdan, are you the next one? Seko, thank you. Arbo, thank you. Excellent. We are seeing Bogdan. Bogdan, please unmute your microphone so we can hear your voice and we can interact.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can definitely hear you. Now, your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to pitch around 2.5 minutes. And do you have a for-profit or a non-profit?
Yes, I have a for-profit idea.
Understood. Clear. I would love to hear about it, and so does the chat and all the live stream viewers. Can you give us an idea what it is fundamentally, right?
Yes,
and go from
absolutely.
There. Let's do it,
so
Bogdan.
can I start the pitch, or do you have any other questions?
Let's
great.
do it. Let's do it, Bogdan.
Cool. And before I say that, I really want to thank both you and Ginny for the amazing job and amazing help that you're providing. So thanks both for that.
It's very sweet. Useful. It's not going to get you points. I'm going to give you feedback, but
I'm not trying to score points, just feedback. So that's
teasing. I'm teasing, all in good humor. I understand that. Let's do it.
Wonderful. So my name is Bogdan, and I'm the founder of Future Up Lab, which is a mindset and self-development platform for teachers. So what the platform does for teachers is helping them be the best versions of themselves so that they can go to class and inspire kids to be the adults of tomorrow. Essentially, what the problem is today with ed tech companies and with teacher professional development is that most ed tech companies tend to focus almost exclusively on the students, which of course is absolutely brilliant, but in a way that also gives teachers this sense that they are trying to be replaced or they're put in the shadow. And at Future Up Lab, we truly believe that teachers are irreplaceable. So we want to provide them with self-development tools so they can thrive in difficult times. So to solve that, we are providing e-learning that is split into 3 specific things that constitute the product. Those are micro courses, which are under 10 minutes per topic on carefully curated topics about mindset and self-development. There are practical cheat sheets that supplement the content so they can be applied right away, either in their personal life or in class, followed by a tailored coaching process that lasts for 2 weeks. It's automatized and email-based. And through that coaching process, teachers are enabled to set micro goals, to set different experiments, and to measure themselves how they score on those experiments so that they can constantly experiment with their own self-development journey. Essentially, the vision is to enable teachers to be the best versions of themselves. And by going towards topics that are non-school curricula, we believe that we have a product which has global relevancy across topics such as emotional intelligence, self-limiting beliefs, boosting creativity, building resilience, both personal resilience and student resilience, and a whole lot of other topics. Now, when it comes to the market size, we know that teachers are increasing in number. Just looking at US alone, there are 3.2 million teachers today, increasing at a rate of between 5 to 10% year on year. There are 130,000 schools today in US alone. There are 500,000 teachers in UK alone and about 30,000 schools. And all this market is on a growth trend. At the same time, ed tech as an industry is somewhere between $4 to $5 billion as a whole today, and it's expected to grow again between 3 to 4% year on year.
One last sentence, please. One final sentence.
And then about myself, what qualifies me as the founder is that I've been having for the last 5 years experience both within leadership development, agile sprints, startups, and innovation. So I believe by connecting these dots, we provide a truly unique self-development tool for teachers.
Thank you very much, Bogdan. I had to start wrapping it up a little bit. You were joining on just a bit, but I appreciate you taking the courage to come up and actually pitch your thing. So thank you, man. Thank you.
Thanks.
Here's what we're going to do very quickly before Ginny is collecting all her notes for delivery, right? I want to crowdsource because I love the audience that we have, and I'd love to use your brains because you are very smart people. I've been going through your applications as much as I could with my team, and I've identified a lot of PhDs. Right? We have a lot of very different people from all around the world. So I'm really excited to crowdsource the feedback. I'm going to ask a very basic thing, almost criminal in its simplicity. And that is, what did you remember? A couple of sentences, not Bogdan, but the chat. What did you remember from Bogdan's pitch? It's a very simple one. Sentence or two. Very quickly, I'll give you a moment. What did you remember from Bogdan's pitch? Please leave a comment in the chat. What did you remember? People are furiously typing in their keyboards right now. All right. Oh, we have the first one popping up. Agile sprints. Don't know what that is, but sounds fun. I love it. It's some kind of pitch. It's a kind of drill, physical drill. Self-development for teachers, that they're offering a solution for teachers. The market size of EdTech, the app for teachers to grow and improve, an app to support and provide training teachers. Education solution. I asked you guys to basically write down a sentence or two. Make teachers grow. All right. All right. All right. Thank you very much. If there's a few will trickling in, I'll deliver it. But Ginny, why do you think I asked about memory? Why did I ask the chat to engage and to essentially put a little sentence out there, what Bogdan kind of put to us in a few, 3 minutes or so? What was the purpose of this?
As soon as you ask somebody what they remember, it separates what was abstract in the pitch and therefore probably not memorable, and what things were a bit more concrete. So facts that people's brains kind of got stuck to their brain a bit like Velcro, and other things that your brain was probably either working too hard to figure out, or it was a bit fluffy. So therefore, again, your brain doesn't remember it as well.
The practical takeaway, and Ginny, thank you very much. It's so lovely to work in a duet like this. I remind everybody, if you really want to test whether your pitch is doing a good job in terms of delivering key messages, is ask one of your team members, right? Or somebody ideally outside your team to summarize and listen, to ask them to summarize and to listen to them what you pitched, what you delivered, because their mind will start heavily filtering. And it's very brutal in its honesty. You either remember it or you don't remember it. A lot of stuff is open to interpretation and feelings and all that. Yet keep in mind, if an investor, for instance, does not remember key messages from your pitch, how can they make, well, educated decisions, educated bets, so to say, on whether they want to invite you to the next meeting? I remind you guys, memory is the name of the game here. Will you be remembered for the key messages that will drive those points across? Another coach that's been very helpful, you might meet him during this particular matchathon, Willie. He likes the methodology of arguments, and arguments are definitely very good in terms of logic and persuasion. In the same time, if you don't remember the arguments, ladies and gentlemen, then we have a challenge. I remind you about that particular simplicity. It applies both to teachers, Bogdan, right? If you don't remember the content of the session, right, then we have done potentially a poor job. You feel me?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, that means some trimming needs to be done. Some trimming needs to be done. All right. All right. Very good. Very good. Ginny, what pointers can we give to Bogdan in regards to augmenting his key messages? Let's say he picks a few more facts. Let's say market size, or he talks about the solution with an example. Let's say that's done. That's sorted out. How can we use his voice to really get that message to be inside of a mind?
So I really get what you're saying, as in terms of I can see that the passion and I can see why it's a good idea. I think there were times where I felt more excited than you sounded. So I think there needs to be an increase in enthusiasm, similar to what we were saying to Joseko before as well, of you set out the problem and then you talk about your vision behind this and some other really key words, but you didn't sound particularly envisioned. So I think there's more that can be drawn out through things like just raising your voice slightly in certain points that you're wanting to emphasize. And again, thinking about smiling as you're speaking, just so that there's warmth brought into this. You're building a massive vision and you're talking about a huge market as well. So I will only believe you if you sound like you believe in yourself and you believe in what you're doing. So make sure that you lead us as a communicator, you lead us to where you want us to get to. As in, if you want us to feel excited, it has to come from you. If you want us to feel frustrated by the problem, that again needs to come from you. So first of all, identify what you want us to feel and then work out how you're going to get us there.
Ginny, always a pleasure. Thank you for that. Here's what I'm predicting right now. We have a lot of good teams this time, all right? Previous hacks, we also have a mixed bag. We have good teams and we have some really raw teams. Here we have a little more prepared people, which is good. And I want to give value to you. Considering I am also a stakeholder, making sure we have a good lineup of speakers for the 21st of May demo day. So I really want to give value. Helen, who is currently our lovely host from Data Natives, is informed us that if we're a little over time, it's fine, right? It's fine. Yet in the same time, I have to also predict what's going to happen in the future. So we have Victor and Gregor, who I know, I believe, from one of the Polish hacks, another one from the previous hack. So I've seen you guys before. I know you want to do it very much. You've written to me before, all of that. Great. Before we transition, I want to bring in something new that I don't normally do with the raw teams. This is for the more advanced teams at accelerators where I mentor at Startup Wise Guys, and that is the investor Q&A. Because my team and I are designing a Q&A, a question and answer session, as part of your pitches for the 21st of May. So I want to give a very quick run through of the second act of my keynote slides. And I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you a bit of theory. Some of this is going to be a little tedious. And then I want to take another volunteer. And then eventually, we're going to start grilling you a little bit. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is not going to be always, how should I put this? It's tough love to get you to be stronger. I know Victor can take it for sure. I think Gregor can definitely take it, but I'm giving you a heads up. But I'm also going to give you the tools to address it. And it's especially useful for female founders, Ginny. And I think you've heard some of the research. And because I'm a data-driven pitch coach, I'm quite meticulous in cataloging questions asked by investors for conferences. So let me share my screen. And then Ginny and I are going to give you practical tool to withstand the Q&A, just to give you guys a heads up. Let me pick that. One moment. Now let me know if you're not able to see my screen. Please let me know. Ginny, my slides visible? Very good. Now everybody else who's not able to, please let me know. All good. This usually is the second bit of my work. The first bit is storytelling, the hero's journey that Ginny and I will earn our living with. We have a chat comment, if I'm not mistaken. Very quickly, let me open the chat. All good, very good, very good. Let me put this in a different thing so I can actually see you guys. The reason why I pick a sphinx to illustrate the gatekeeper is because the sphinx is known to present riddles, right? A question in a way. And I like to think of as investors, and having also been part of juries myself, sometimes you ask tricky questions that make or break a pitch, right? And I'm a fan of mythology, and specifically Egyptian mythology has affected many great authors that I absolutely love, like Neil Gaiman and Stephen King. And it's a high concept reference. But let me get specific with you. Now, think of it as the tale of two studies. The first study came before. There's an event called TechCrunch Disrupt Battlefield. And that event was analyzed by researchers from Columbia University and I believe one from Wharton. Two of those researchers I've interacted with directly. One of them is Mark Conley. Another one is Dana Keynes. Dana delivered a lovely TED Talk, I think a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, where she outlined the particular gender effect on fundraising Q&As and how it affected the amount of funding and the kind of questions you would get. So because she did this partially because she was a founder herself, and she, I think she's gone coast to coast, but at least on one of those coasts, she's pitched almost every VC, every investor. She would have a male co-founder. And she anecdotally, through that personal experience, a lot of it, realized that, hey, my male co-founder is getting different kind of questions than I am. So I guess she went back to academia in Columbia, right? And became a researcher. And they did publish a very, very good paper with Mark and Mr. Higgins and Huang. And they've analyzed around, I think, 1,800 questions, right? 1,800 Q&A sessions over the period of 6 years for 189 companies. And they're the giants on whose shoulders me and my researchers stood on, and another collaborator, to analyze pitches for slush. Basically, founders can prepare for the pitch all they want, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute, but the Q&A is sometimes somewhat predictable, sometimes they're not. And those Q&As can affect your chances. And this is the kind of Q&As you're going to have in the demo day, but more importantly, you're going to have conversations with corporate partners. You're going to have conversation in terms of sales, partnerships with governments, partnerships with NGOs, and all of that is relevant. But specifically, this is for fundraising pitches. Now, the second The darker one has to do with Slush, a big conference in Helsinki. Unfortunately, due to the circumstances, they had to delay the event a bit later. But Slush is an event started in 2008, and they would have 25,000 people attending, like just a year ago, 2 years ago, right? Massive event. And every year, there's an event called Slush 100. So you have 100 founders going and pitching for a day, and then they're selected to a top 15, and the top 15 goes to the top 3, and so on. And every year, right, when you have 1,500, let's say, founders applying to be part of the Slush 100, kind of like your hackathon, guys, very similar in terms of data. There's always a few of my alumni. And that's why I started collecting a data set. I started really spending summers transcribing the pitches, transcribing the questions, transcribing the answers. And then I brought in 2 people, Andri and Heli, to help me out with that. And we've been analyzing those questions. But specifically, I applied similar theory that the Columbia folks did. Now I've used a piece of software, QDA Miner, to analyze one of the most frequently asked questions, specifically keywords in those questions by professional investors in juries. And these are the ones. So each of these words has a particular number in terms of frequency in my data set. And my data set is a little close to over 300,000 words in transcript data, right? So these are the most frequently asked questions from the Slush 100 participants. And here's how it looks like, right? Keep in mind, I'm building the previous study of Columbia. Please pick a question. There's a lot of text. And that's the first category you need to be able to understand. And then immediately, I'm going to show you a very similar slide that contrasts with this. So these questions are based on the most frequently asked categories, but they all have something in common. Different categories, but something in common. Pick one question. I ask the chat, and I invoke the spirit of the chat, what do these questions have in common? Just give a ballpark idea, right? Just a sense for it. Keep in mind, they're all grouped under promotion questions, right? It's a very specific methodology used in psychology, prevention and promotion focus. Dear ladies and gentlemen of the chat, what do these questions have in common? Well, they're general, yes. The external perspective on the project, all right, Simon, thank you. All right, I'll wait a little bit more. The consumer, all about viability. Why behind the idea? Will this presentation be available after? Yes. In fact, you can find it on SlideShare, slightly dated slides, but there's a slide deck on, so if you Google for my name, Gleb Maltsev SlideShare, the very first slide deck is this one. So you can do it now if you want. All right, no biggie. All right, let me speed up. The second category, that's a very important one for you and all the male and female founders. Compare it now. Pick one question. These are real transcribed questions, ladies and gentlemen. So I did not write them in terms of coming up with them, so they're messy. In fact, I had to edit them a little bit just to make sense of them. What do these questions have in common? Keep in mind, it's a new category. It's called prevention questions. We have traction. Bob, thank you. Please leave a comment in the chat. What do these questions have in common? And people don't always 100% get it. Normally, I ask people to vote at certain things, but let's see. Okay, unique value proposition. Thank you. I had to interpret that particular acronym, Paulina. Thank you. I'm not sure where you're from, but thank you. Anybody else? What do these questions have in common? Kind of aggressive, Gregor. Oh, you're getting close. All right, they're not exactly attacking you and jumping out the window, but they're not the nicest ones. These questions show less confidence and the pitch giver. All right. They're challenging. We're getting close. Well, what the Columbia folks did, they used a pre-existing study. That's what academics do. And I'm a simple practitioner, and I rely on their guidance very much. Very good. Oh, Emma, you hit the nail. Very good. The word risk. Ladies and gentlemen, prevention questions focus on risk, and promotion questions focus on opportunity. Prevention questions focus on risk, and promotion questions focus on opportunity. And for Slush, for instance, half the questions that you're asked tend to be year by year prevention focused. For TechCrunch, if you pool all the 6 years together, you get a basic average of 1/3 of them or so. So think of it as between 1/3 to 50% likelihood of you getting a prevention question. Well, what Dana and Mark, who I met in Stockholm, and we had a lovely conversation, what it means is that it lowers your chances and the amount of funding. They did even an experiment in their study. Female founders get more prevention questions than male founders. I remind you, this is also true from preliminary review for my study from slush pitches. Yet it applies to both male and female founders. Your job is to be able to A, identify whether it's a prevention question or promotion question, and B, to play judo a little bit and turn it around in your answer. We will be going through examples, but the first step is to be able to identify it. Now, this is a real investor, Juha. I know him personally. When I was emceeing one conference, he had a really rough night, and he wished during his panel with other investors that he wished to have a beer. So I quickly ran to the gas station. I bought a six-pack, and I gave one of the beers to him on stage. I think he liked it, but because he's a grumpy Finnish man, he'll let me know directly. But he drank that beer. So Juha I know personally, and recently we're part of the same investor day. What kind of question is Juha asking from one of the Slush 100 participants in 2016? Please vote in the chat. Is it a neutral question, so he just wants the facts? Is it a prevention question where he's focusing on the underlying risks in the business, or is it a promotion question? Please leave prevention, promotion, neutral in the chat. What is your vote, ladies and gentlemen? Let's do it. Promotion, Simon. Arba, promotion. Emma, thank you very much. Promotion, very good. Very good. Promotion, Paulina, promo. I like promo. You make it cooler. You made it look, I like that. Very good, right? So there's a lot more of you that have not voted. Understood. Very good. Finally, I'm skipping quite a few steps ahead. Now I'm going to give you a separate contrasting question a little bit, right? It's a bit different. We don't know yet what it is, but we know he talks like this, so he's French. You know, how do you make sure the direction? No. So that's the only way I could pick that he's French, because I lived in France for a little bit. What kind of question is this? It's important to be able to know what kind of questions these are. It's a real one, so it's messy in a way. Oh, we have prevention, Arbab, right? What else? Please leave a comment in the chat. What kind of question is it? Neutral, promotion, or prevention? Please leave a comment in the chat. All right, we have a neutral one. Simon, thank you. Please leave a comment. Even if you're not sure, try to make a decision. You don't have a lot of time when it comes down to Q&As. You have to make rapid fire decisions, and it's not always easy, guys. I have a lot of anecdotes. Prevention, very good. It seems the audience is able to correctly identify. Oh, okay. We even have a slightly more nuanced 75% prevention and 25% neutral. I like that. Most of you are correct. It is indeed prevention. This was asked from Karl, the man on the left with a very stoic face. Karl is somebody I grilled for playing ping pong with him. I would serve a bowl, and I would ask him a hard question, and he has to answer. Karl now, last Slush, was giving a keynote now at Slush. So he did the Slush 100 pitch several years before, and now he's a success story. He raised quite a bit of funding at A-round level, and Karl is a lovely man. We even got to talk in the speaker's lounge to reminiscent about the past. This is the answer that Karl gave. It's a bit messy without context, and it's a real answer that he gave, but please pay attention to what Karl did. He was asked by the investor to focus on the underlying risk that people are going to bypass the system and go outside of it. Instead, what is he doing, ladies and gentlemen? Very quickly, before we wrap up, what is he doing with his answer? I see, Sandro. Thank you very much. He is doing what? Is he protecting and defending against the risk question, as in he's trying to justify it, or he's doing something else? Let me know. Addressing the risk. All right. Taking it to his advantage. Oh, very close, Paulina. Thank you very much. Normally, I would wait for a few more answers, but what Carl is doing, is very rare. Now, it's a complicated matrix for you. The very top questions on the left side of answers. What Carl did, right? So most of the questions match. Normally, you get a prevention question, you give a prevention answer. People ask a promotion question, you give a promotion answer. Some people shoot themselves in the foot. They get a nice question and they start talking about risk, right? That's a rare breed. But Carl is also a rare breed. Single-digit probability of you being able to do what Carl does, and that is to pull this judo move and to answer a prevention question with a promotion answer. Finally, the person I trained for another conference who got in the finals, a very smart man with a PhD and a good successful project, he got really stressed out in the finals. And he wrote to me an email afterwards, Gleb, I knew what I had to do in terms of turning it around, but my inner gorilla came out. It's a very graphic metaphor. I love it. So what I want you to do, ladies and gentlemen, because we have to wrap up, Helen from Love of Data Natives is definitely pushing us along, is that Victor and Gregor, we need to have a private session. I will catch up as promised. Specifically though, what I want you to do is pick a person from your team to start asking you questions based on the 7 themes. Right, these themes, you need to be able to grill each other in regards to the Q&A. Market size, your product questions, your business model, your customers, your competitors, and whatever data you're collecting and how you're sourcing it. You need to be prepared for hard questions on that. That affects your funding chances and the amount of that funding. Guys, thank you very much. Ginny, I'm going to give it over to you. If we can have a nice listicle of points that teams could consider for delivery, I would suggest wrap it up on you. And I appreciate so far all the people who are coming in the chat. You've been lovely so far. Gregor and Victor, we'll work with you separately as much as we can.
Yeah. So just a really quick thing on delivery with Q&A. One of the reasons people go into the gorilla mode that Gleb just talked about is because they just forget to breathe. So you feel like you're under attack when you're getting a Q&A. You go into this immediate defensive mode and it just circles round, because as soon as you start to offend, you're going to get attacked back, probably. Not maybe as aggressive as that sounds. So breathing before you speak is really important. And just reminding yourself, you're not there to defend yourself. It's actually a really good opportunity when somebody asks you a question to define your position, to just be calm and really measured in how you say, how you answer. And if you can, to try and reframe your answer as a promotion in a promotion framework wherever you can. But just a really quick few other pointers when you are thinking about delivering your pitch. Make sure you're sitting or standing tall so you can breathe properly and use your voice. Smile where you can is also really important. And just identify, like I was saying earlier, what you want your audience to feel during your pitch, and therefore what kinds of things you're going to need to do, techniques you'll need to employ just to make sure that that is possible. So I will hand it back to Gleb.
Ginny, thank you very much. Helen, thank you for hosting this. Everybody else in the chat. The demo day is specifically for investors. We're probably going to have a lot of private accelerators. It will have less government, but it will be some funds. Not all of you are ready to be invested into, all honesty. So we will have a hard time selecting them. We'll be looking at team, right? Do you have a well-rounded team? Are you a solo founder or not? We'll look at any form of traction. So that revenue question that you got, it's super important, guys. Right? We got to figure out how far are you? And eventually we'll need to figure out whether you have a legitimate problem that you're solving or you have technology that's chasing a problem post hoc, because there's always teams like this. And if that is the case, if technology is chasing a problem, that might lead to a lack of a product market fit. Some of you are more developed, some of you are less so. You're super mixed, you're super intelligent, and making any arbitrary cutoff will be very difficult. We'll do our best to include as many good teams as possible for the demo day. Yet many of you will be part of the matchathon. And when you pitch, you're going to have conversations predominantly. You need to be succinct. You will need to get the point across. Ideally, tell stories, guys. Tell real stories. How we can connect with you, how you came to solve the problem you're solving. Tell us directly what it does. Hardware, software, what have you built? Very specifically. Think of it as the Y Combinator model. They get a lot of applications. They have to understand what it is as fast as possible. Just utilitarian, very basic. When you pitch, you tell a story and you believe in that story, then you will become, in fact, more resilient to the tough questions that will be thrown your way in the form of a stress test from the jury or so. Now, the Q&A we're going to have is going to basically help you connect with those people. So don't get defensive, tell your real story. And if you don't get in, keep on moving, guys. Keep on moving. Talk to the academics, talk to the corporates, talk to the investors outside, and we'll do everything we can to match you and to help you out. Ginny, I thank you once again for joining. I know if it's our gazillion of time working together, it's always a pleasure. Everybody else, we're done for today. Everybody who's in the live stream and the Facebook, thank you. Thank you very much. We're done, and good luck matching and preparing for that pitch. Thank you very much. We're done.